This is Walk Talk Football, the show where we talk about everything that's on your mind. Today we are in Marseille, France. We came out here for the Olympico rivalry between Marseille and Lyon. Unfortunately, the local team took the L, but there's other football going on, so we're going to talk about it. We're talking Salah is incredible right now. Ronaldo's back in top form, as well as lots of other things, so let's walk. All right, first off, Mike Hennigan wants to know, how is France? First of all, it's happy to hear from Mike Hennigan after St. Paddy's Day. We didn't know what was going to happen to him. He is our resident super Irish guy, if you ask him. But thanks for the question. We're in France right now for the Olympico rivalry between Lyon and Marseille. And we're shooting a documentary around the fans, the culture, the people, the city. We've actually got a car coming right at us right now, so we're going to weave around that. But France is awesome. We're going to put a doc out about it. It's been an incredible experience. It's unique being in a city like Marseille that has just one fan base. They don't have multiple teams in a city. For a city this size, you would expect there to be multiple teams and local rivalries, but it's literally all about Marseille here. It's been a great experience. The city's great. There's a ton of history here, so it's been awesome. Moving on from that, let's talk a little bit about the Olympico match. Olivia wants to know, is Memphis Depay as world-class as he thinks he is? I see that there's a little bit of a nudge there. I don't rate him, but he certainly brought it against Marseille. We talked to a lot of people here about Memphis Depay, and you hear on the outside because he scored a decent amount of goals this year, but he's a super sub ultimately. For a guy who was as good as he was last World Cup, flopped at Manchester United, it's good to see him find his form, but ultimately he's still spending most of his time on the bench and is subbing in the game. So for that, I think obviously he's become very, very good. A Chicharito style to coming off the bench like Chicharito was at Man United, but as good as he thinks he is, if he is that good, he's going to eventually find himself on the pitch and playing every game, playing 90 minutes, or at least playing larger roles than being a super sub. Next up, if you're looking for an exciting Ligue 1 venue, the Velodrome is the only place to go, in my opinion. Monaco is known to have a particularly boring atmosphere, actually. They say that when Monaco has a traveling supporter group, that if it's like 50 or 100 people, the joke is that they brought everybody from Monaco with them. So that's a joke of like Marseille and some of these other clubs. They tend to make these jokes about Monaco because they don't have very many people there. But yeah, the atmosphere yesterday was incredible, insane. There was a full stadium tifo of everybody, and it was just a great experience. Unfortunately, the local team lost, but it's not the end of the world for them. But again, it was a sick experience, and if you're definitely going to come watch football, I recommend coming to Marseille. We've heard Saint-Etienne is good, we've heard PSG is another club to get a good atmosphere, but it's certainly one of the best that I've ever seen in person. Next up, Pedro Silva is asking, can we talk about Ronaldo's form in the last 10 games? He's got 16 goals in the last 8 games, which is insane. Like, it's back insane. And then apparently he's the top scorer again over this last season, which is weird because we took him out of the conversation for Ballon d'Or. We were saying Messi's going to win it for sure, blah, blah, blah. We talked about Mohamed Salah, which we'll get to, but Messi's been incredible. But now apparently Ronaldo has more goals than Messi does over the last season across all competitions. And a little bit of that gets held against him because he hasn't been in top form for a lot of the year for Real Madrid, but he's been in the league, but he's been great in the Champions League. But now here he is scoring 10 goals or 16 goals in his last 8 games, and now he's right back in the conversation again. Incredible, incredible player. Shows just how important it is, even for a guy of his quality, when you hit a rough patch, that you're just going to eventually have to get beyond that, score a few goals, and now he's raining goals. He's just had his 50th hat trick, which, I don't know. If you can score 1 hat trick, we talked about Mohamed Salah scored his first hat trick this weekend in the Premier League, and it was this giant deal. Ronaldo's got 50 of them, so it goes to show you the differences. Oh, another question from Mohamed Salah, or a question about Mohamed Salah. Perfect. Salah is the best player. Is he the best player in the Prem? He's the leading leader in goals directly involved with 37, 28 goals and 9 assists. Yeah, Harry Kane I think is the best player, but Harry Kane's injured right now. And Mo Salah, who I don't think they bought him with this expectation that he was going to do as well as he has, not only puts up goals, but he puts up assists. And another question is, like, 5 years ago, Messi was Mohamed Salah's age and was Barcelona's all-time scorer and being called an alien by Buffon. And somehow we're saying Salah is as good as Messi. Is this peak sensationalism, or is there a point I'm missing? I think we all crave something different than Ronaldo and Messi. I think that's what it comes down to. Ronaldo and Messi will forever go down as likely the 2 best players ever, at least in the modern era. It's tough to compare it to the Maradona and Pele era, but we all crave seeing that next guy. When Kaká won the Ballon d'Or back in 2007 or 2008, people talked about it as if it was a phenomenon. And Mohamed Salah is doing something that I think if you took Ronaldo and Messi out of the conversation, he'd be on par battling with Neymar. Of course, this is a popularity contest and Neymar would likely win it, but I think Mohamed Salah's performances, including and Harry Kane's performances, are nothing short of world class. And for us, sometimes it's nice to have somebody like that exceed expectation or match the level that we think is world class. So while you can't compare him to Messi, you can't compare Messi to anyone, you can't compare Ronaldo to Messi, Messi to Ronaldo, it's certainly worth having that conversation of a guy like that, because he's got other quality players on his team that are putting up good numbers, but he's just doing incredible stuff week in and week out. And not only is he scoring goals, not just tap-ins, but he's doing people dirty on the dribble, which is, it's just fun to watch. It's that simple. And then you add the story of him taking Egypt to the World Cup and scoring the penalty, and all those types of things just makes him a player on another level, which I think is really unique and deserves to be celebrated. Next up, Juve have to face Milan and Real Madrid twice, Napoli and Inter in April. Having also slipped against SPAL and Napoli, taken advantage by beating Genoa, is this the season Juve collapse? I think it's backwards. I think it wouldn't be a Juve collapse this year because Napoli, again, have spent most of the year in first place. And I think that's on Napoli. If they fall apart, there's 2 points separating them now in the league. If they fall apart, that's on Napoli. They've had the positions to be able to win it. And now Juve have clawed their way back and they're in front with a 2-point gap. And now it's back in their hands again. So I don't think it'll be a collapse for them. It'll be a collapse from Napoli. That's a total collapse from Napoli because they've had control of it. Granted, I think both those teams only have 2 losses and like 3 or 4 draws, so they've both been incredible. But eventually Juventus will give up the title. But I would think that this is a year, just like we thought last year or the year before, because Juve started really slow, that this was Napoli's year. Napoli's been great the whole year, but it only takes 1 or 2 slip-ups for a team that's as deep and as experienced as Juventus to steal back the title. So now here they are with everything in their positions. These are the cool things. You have bells going off here, all this old architecture while we're doing this, which is a pretty cool and unique experience for us. Moving on, most exciting UCL quarterfinal draw. You have Barca Roma, Juve Real Madrid, Sevilla Bayern, but it's all about City Liverpool. I would have loved to have seen this in a semifinal or a final, but I'm excited about this. It's the biggest matchup because of, clearly, this is 2 teams from the same league, and while this hurts the Premier League in terms of going deeper in the tournament, it will be the matchup that I'm most excited about. I think Bayern will be able to handle Sevilla. I think Barca will be able to handle Roma, though Roma have been really, really good this year as well. And then Juventus Real Madrid is a big one because it's a repeat from last year's final, but I'm most excited about these, and maybe I'm biased because it's the Premier League, but that's what I'm most excited about. Next question: do you think Toronto has a chance against Club America? Who do you think wins the CCL? I think Toronto is MLS's best chance of winning this tournament. You can tell that they've been resting their players. It's been 100% their focus, which I really respect. They've started MLS 0-2. And that's not an excuse to be able to put all your focus in one thing, but you can tell that this is a big, big thing for them. They're trying to make history. There's something that's happening up there in Toronto where there's just a commitment to excellence. And now that they've won the league, went to their second final, finally won it, now they're saying we're going to take the Champions League. And I think it's just a cool thing to see. They're sacrificing everything right now. And uniquely, MLS allows you, if you were to, because of the way the league is built, if they were to win 3 in a row, they'd be right back in the playoff conversation. So I think it's really, really cool that they're building this team, using the mechanisms to build out the middle of their roster, to bring in more experience and make a run for it. So I think Toronto has the best chance. And I do think they can beat Club America, especially at home. They can get the results. Of course, it's going to be very difficult in Mexico City to get that win. But if anybody's going to do it in the last few years, you know, we saw Montreal go to a final. We saw Salt Lake. Same thing. It's Toronto. Toronto's the best team that we've had in this tournament by far, but definitely by a large portion. So that's the team that I think is gonna, if anybody's gonna do it, it's gonna be this year. It feels like the perfect storm, but again, they've got to win. That's not on me. I can't control that. What do you think about Chivas' poor performances after winning Liga MX and Copa MX and Boca? Look, I think it sucks. I mean, there's a huge fan base of Chivas fans all around the world that were so excited about Chivas this last year. As early as 2 years ago, Chivas was in a discussion to getting relegated, or 3 years ago. It was part of this conversation. They said it would never really happen, but they were certainly having a poor performance for long stretches, and over, the way that they measure, or the way that you can get relegated in Mexico is like 2 or 3 seasons put together, and it's an interesting process to getting relegated, but it was close. It was bad times for Chivas. So for them to be back on top, I think is great, but this might be a little bit of a humble pie that they're not as good as they think they are, and there needs to be some changes internally or externally or whatever it is, because they've got an incredible fan base that deserves to have players fighting on the pitch for them regularly. Next question. I'm out of breath here. It's windy. I'm out of shape. What do you think about? Oh no, I did that one. See, I'm tired. What's up, Heath? With Villa and Tinnerholm out and still getting the decisive W over Orlando, did NYCFC prove that they have the depth and attack missing from 2017? It's too early. I don't like to get into the speculation of what week 2 or week 3 in the season means for week 34 or the playoffs and those types of things. But Tinnerholm is a proven player, and I think he was a good pickup. I think anytime you're shopping Scandinavia for those top quality players, you're going to find some really good gyms and guys who have that fighting spirit and that fighting mentality to come here and know how to adapt quickly. But Villa is he seems ageless. He seems like he's so good every year. You don't see any age with him. Usually when you start to see these strikers get a little older, their game style changes, but it's been fantastic from him. So I think they definitely have the ability to make a run again. It's been disappointing. I would love to see honestly, I would love to see one of the New York teams win an MLS Cup, or both of them go to an MLS Cup final. I guess it's not, right? You go East and West. Can't happen. That sucks. That was a stupid comment. I knew that. But either way, I would love to see one of them do well. And of course, I played for the Red Bulls, and I always have this love for the Red Bulls. I just want a New York team because there's so many football fans that I think aren't getting to experience things because of whatever reasons they don't want to support those teams. I want somebody to win and have this bragging pride of being in the Big Apple and having a trophy, of course. Red Bulls have won a couple supporter shields. I almost said community shield. Which I was part of one in 2013, and it was an amazing experience and really cool. But I'd love to see someone win MLS Cup. But I think NYCFC has a good squad, and Patrick Vieira. Anytime a foreign coach comes in, and we're seeing with Tata Martino, these guys are coming in with a lot more educated, and a lot more willingness to learn the systems and develop and adapt. And we've talked to Vieira, and he talked about the complications of how to build a roster here, but he's done well with it. He's done well with building a roster, and he's done well with bringing in young players and giving young players chances and bringing in experience. So I think, NYCFC is a strong club, and I'd love to see them meet that talent level in the postseason as well. Toronto 0, Montreal 1. Thoughts on the Champions' rough start? It's all about Champions League. That's what they're doing. No discredit to Montreal because, Montreal is a difficult team to play in the Olympic Stadium, and they're a good club, and they've got a great supporter base and things like that. So it's all credit to them for getting the win, because I think Montreal needs those wins early in the season. But Toronto's focusing on the Champions League, and again, it's not an excuse, but I don't think they're stressed about that right now. Patrick Infernus says weigh-ins for day 3 of the Bassmaster Classic are on right now. There's no way this wasn't pre-planned by Deuce. What he's referring to, if you didn't already know, Clint Dempsey got a red card in their match. Was it against Dallas or something? Against Dallas. Had a little crotch shot on somebody, got sent off. People are feeling like it was a controversial call, that maybe is a little bit rough. The few angles that I saw seemed like he definitely did something. But funny comment because, Pat Inferno was almost a national championship bass fisherman, so he fell in love with Clint Dempsey, who loves spending his time fishing, and now he's claiming there's a conspiracy that Clint got sent off so he could have a little free time to go in bass fishing championships, which is totally valid and something that we should investigate further. US Open Cup released all the teams participating. What are the odds that a lower level team like my own Stockade FC or Christos FC make a deep run in the tournament? Also, congrats on the baby. Thank you, I appreciate that. It's tough to say. When A-League teams or NASL teams went on deep runs, it was considered this Cinderella type story. When you're dealing with NPSL, which has a mix of semi-pro, some professional and completely amateur teams and players, it's tough to really have that ability to build a team in a short period because the seasons are shorter. The resource to really go out there. But look, the margin of error between levels. You know, when you talk about the fourth division versus the first division in the US, there's a lot of players that probably are doing other things that maybe weren't going to be regular starters in MLS and chose a new career and are staying in shape by playing in PSL and things like that. So there is quality, and the margins of error are very, very small, or the margins of differences are small enough that on any given day, a team like an NPSL team like a Christos or a Stockade could get a few games. Now to go on a deep run, semifinals, things like that, it's going to be very difficult, but why not? I mean, I think that's what that tournament is missing, is seeing those Cinderella runs, because we as Americans or North Americans, we follow college sports and it's all about March Madness. Like right now, you see that team that 16 seed or whatever going to a semifinal. That 16 seed knocking out this year was the first seed. It was the first time ever that a 16 knocked out a first seed. Like that in itself is an incredible thing. So I think that would help bring more people to the sport and enjoy it. Guys, guess what? It's time for my favorite part of the show, to address you haters. And guess what? We have haters, as usual. Doesn't matter how good of an ambiance your supporters make, if they film vertically with their smartphones, they're still crap. You're talking about me. I made a comment, I posted a video in vertical, right? It's vertical. All right, I don't understand all the complications of production stuff. That's inappropriate art on the ground. But I've been told by my producer that this is a snotty little argument that was more valid back in 2015 when there was the debate going on, and that now it's not that big of a deal. It's a valid argument, but I've been told by my people it was a valid argument a couple years ago, more valid. You had a stronger argument, but you still made our show, so technically it makes sense. Caught Offside says, it is no longer a joke how much Heath Pearce is really Sebastian Prudl of Watford FC. I don't see that one. I mean, I get the long hair, and sometimes I have facial hair, sometimes he has facial hair. I get all that, but I don't know. I don't mind being compared to a guy in the Premier League for one of a good squad. So I don't know why that's in the hater section. That should be in the compliment section. We're gonna start a new one called the compliment. We're gonna get rid of the hater section and just have a compliment section. Actually, we're gonna cut out all the soccer stuff, and it's just gonna be conversations about nice things people have said about me in the past, just to build me up again. Next one is COPA90 US. Good at nothing, crap at everything. That's just funny. Thank you for saying that, Rama Krishna Mitta. Thanks for saying that. You know, I'm sorry that you don't like us, but you took time out of your precious day, which clearly you have important things to do. I'm sure you're a busy person. I'm sure that you have an expectation of the content that you want, and to take time out of your day to comment on something you hate so much is, it makes us feel good. So we appreciate that, and keep those comments coming because it feels good. And finally, last comment, whoa, where the hell was Pearce? Pearce is spelled wrong. Don't worry, it doesn't offend me. You guys want to keep making that a joke by spelling my name wrong. It's been happening my whole life. Do not care, it's fine. Don't appreciate this, thumbs down it says. That's referring to Aaron trying to steal my show. Secretly, deep down, he's been trying to steal the show from me for a while. So if you could get down in the comments and say, Aaron, please stop trying to steal Heath's show, that would be great. And then let Aaron know how cool I am in the comments, that'd be nice too. Or you can give me more hate in the comments, I don't really care. But guys, that's all we have time for today. So make sure you get down in the comments, tell me all the things that you feel, all the things that you're thinking about in the global football world, and we'll make sure to get those onto the next show. And make sure, if you haven't already, comment, like, subscribe, and we'll see you guys next time.